People are sending questions. This is good.
And we are live. It was never fast enough to get the video started.
I don't want to see that.
In a world of divisiveness, we bring you diversity. In a world of hate, we bring you love. In a world of fear, we inspire you to live. And now, laughing, loving, and alive with your hosts Rain Thomas, Elmer J. Howard, and Dr. Kevin.
Hello, hello. I am the Easter Bunny.
Well, hello. I am Coco Chanel.
Hello. I would like Cocoa Puffs and bunny rabbits for lunch.
Ooh, this is the late night show again, isn't it? We're starting it off this way.
I'm Hannibal Lecter, and you both look like dinner to me.
Oh boy, this is going to be quite the show, but isn't it always?
Hey.
So Rain, you have any news for us you can share? You keep teasing every week about something, and then so we never know when it's going to be announced.
You know what? Me neither. I just get the roles. I can tell you that this new role, they're actually shooting it in Vegas in a couple of weeks, so it's actually a quick turnaround. I can't say much more than that because, I mean, Elma, you know how it goes. You're sworn to secrecy, right? But I do know that that will be happening in 2 weeks and that it'll be past my bedtime because they will be shooting at like midnight until whatever. So I need to start taking naps now so that by the end of the month, I'm ready for that. What else can I share? No, I can't share the other one either because...
So in 2 weeks, you're going to do the show, and then you're going to go be shooting right after the show.
No, it's actually a weekday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll be a week. It'll be a weekdays, or however they put it together. But yeah, it's like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something like that. So and it's like 45 minutes on the other side of the town where they're shooting. So I want to make sure that I am wide awake. Yeah, no, if I had to do this show and go, I don't know if I'd be able to make it. I would truly. Didn't you hear me say I'm going to start napping like this week so that by the time the end of the month comes, I am prepared. So I can tell you that. Hi, Brent.
I don't know if we'll ever, you'll have to send us some way to see this movie, because you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So you're going to shoot this movie in Vegas and the rest of us will never see it because it will stay in Vegas.
No, because these people are from LA and it's cheaper to shoot here. Yeah, they're going to be shooting here and then taking it to LA. So you will get to see it. I know. I thought of that too. And he's like, no, I said, are you here? He's like, no, the LA team is coming to do the shoot there. And another movie that I was in, I just learned about a week ago that it is it's been in all 35 film festivals as one of the top, another's like short or whatnot. I don't know. I half read stuff. There's so much going on. I don't even know what's going on. So that's it. That's my Coco Chanel moment.
So, Elma, are you hearing that by the time you get around to trying to hire Rain for one of your films, that there's going to be an extra zero to the paycheck you're going to have to pay her?
Yep. Well, I'm still fearful about we raised enough money to pay the attorney to get all the SEC paperwork done. So now we're going to be raising the money for the film, for the production and everything. And I'm still afraid because, this was a film that was made in Maine in 1975 and all the main characters, is based on a true story, were white. So trying to tell.
Yeah, fine. Fine. I want to be inclusive. Hi, Elizabeth. I want to feel that being that I'm inclusive. I can use that, right? Isn't somebody using that somewhere? And I gotta say, there'll probably be a couple of tasteless references on this show today because, we've had some tasteless things going on in the media in the last couple of weeks. And because the last time we were on, you said no one watched live because the Oscars were on. Wasn't that
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we were happy. We were actually happening around the time of that incident was going on.
Yeah. What incident, Elmer?
If that was Chuck Norris up on the stage, Will Smith would have slapped himself.
Yeah, I can't. There were a lot of people I put up there, and I thought, yeah. Somebody, I didn't even have to say that. Thank you, Brett. Right? That's what people.
Well,
say.
you do play the mother of a white man.
And I do play the Spirit McCoy, which, that's a West Virginia, Kentucky hillbilly fight that's gone on for 60, 70, 80, 100 years now. And I was in there. That never happened before. That was huge in West Virginia. And,
Well, what was huge? They let a person of color in? Is that what
Hello, Hatfields McCoys. That's a hillbilly fight. I didn't have a dog in that fight at all. Like, we weren't included in that fight at all. And Will Scott Hill, who's going to be here on our next show again, was the one who wanted to start color blinding me into roles that no one saw. Because Paradise Park, the person who came to town that was kind of manipulating these people at, the trailer park was a white guy who was like a huckster. And Danny Boyd, who actually wrote Paradise Park, he's like, I have an idea. Let's turn this white man that doesn't sing into a role for Rain. So he rewrote that role so that I would be able to play the part of Madame Duverac, is what they call her. And I became the no money down woman. So I even played a white man, technically.
Well, so I hope you're hearing all of this, Elmer, and feeling sufficiently sheepish about all of this. Is there anything else you can rub in his face? I'm just sitting here enjoying the show.
Well, the other thing that we have to do is this is a gay story, and I really want to cast all gay actors or LGBT actors, and in the lead roles as well.
Okay, wait a minute. So this whole inclusive thing, which first we had to get Black people included in stuff, and then we had to get like other colors included in stuff, and then we had to get like LGBTQ included, and now you're excluding me because I'm Black and I'm the one who started this movement. I will play LGBTQ, whatever it is you tell me, because I take that very seriously. I've always been behind the movement of people stop bothering people. We're all equal. An a-hole is an a-hole. It doesn't matter what color or culture or lifestyle. And I've always, since I was a kid, stood up for everybody. So I'm going to get in a role in this LGBTQ movie, Elmer, or else I'm going to start protesting. And my people, we will protest and we will put up signs, and it'll say Rain Thomas needs a role. You can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you, it's out there now. I'm going to share this video with everybody, just so you know that I want to be included.
Apparently, Brent wants to be included too.
But what about a straight white Christian guy? Isn't that inclusive? Dr. Kevin is like, what is going on here? Speaking of Dr. Kevin,
I have so many comments I'm biting my tongue on right now.
Yes, well, that's the late night show. Dr. Kevin, how are you, and what exciting things do you have going on?
Well, one of the comments, I'm going to tell you the whole Oscar thing, which I don't want us to get mired down in, but I do want to say, as I was watching things go on and comments exchanging and things like this, there was one that really stood out to me that just took everything I had not to challenge the person who posted it, because I'm trying to not go there these days.
Mm-hmm.
And for one particular reason, which is the person that posted it, was basically saying something about, the comment, the way it read was, it wasn't Will Smith's fault because Jada was gaslighting him. And I looked at that comment that somehow, and then I looked at the person who made it, somehow this woman was blaming the female for the male's action. And I thought, really? Haven't we moved past the fact of that somehow the wife gets blamed, the wife that has the disease that's not funny and shouldn't be being joked about and has been very upfront and honest? And she's getting blamed because she somehow gaslighted Will into doing what he did. That's the only one that sent me over the moon. Everything else, I'm like, everybody's got an opinion. We know what everybody else also has, and we're not going to go there. Oh God, I hope not. But anyways, so that was my only thing about all of that. It's I can't say I've got a whole lot new and exciting going on right now. It's just kind of rolling in. I mean, I'm doing some writing and getting some things done, but I'm kind of like hanging these days.
Well, that's for our late night show as well.
Yeah. I can't think of anything that I'm going to say is like, over the moon thrilling or exciting, but nothing, nothing bad either. I'm still trying to figure out this morning. I dreamt about this song last night. And when I woke up this morning, I was telling Jeff about it, and he and I said, and he came on saying, it sounds like there's some stuff that makes me think of this song or that song, but I don't think I've ever heard it. And now I've spent all day trying to figure out, was I writing a song in my head, which has been known to happen in a dream, and it sounds so familiar, but it really hasn't been written yet.
Mm-hmm. I've had that happen before.
Yeah. I did start a new series of TikToks, and the jury's still out for me and on TikTok, whether it's a platform I'm going to continue to do stuff on or not. But I've been hashtagging hypocrisy and, some of the hypocritical things I think going on in the world in little short TikToks. And then I evolved two new ones that have just started coming out. One is called Toxic Christianity, and the other one is called Political Bullshit.
Okay.
And so I'm doing little TikToks, but you don't want to talk about religion and you don't want to talk about politics, so I really can't say anything about them. So Elmer, you saw her face freeze for a second when I told you.
Yes, just for a freeze, but that's after hours. Congratulations to the engaged.
Yes.
I love that. Speaking of engaged, this is a great segue for engaged.
Go ahead. Introduce today's guest.
I thought you were going to do that.
No?
Okay. Well, today's guest,
you know her personally, right?
Oh yeah, I've known her for a very long time too, and longer than I remembered. This young lady set our finances straight. I come from a family that doesn't believe in financial literacy. That's only for certain people, not me or whatever, which is fine. But Mary Ashby is a wealth of information. And It's funny because we do Laughing, Loving, and Alive. And if anybody's read my post, which a couple people like, yeah, I said, laughter, love, and being alive is so much better when you have financial wellness. Because, when your finances are out of sorts and you're struggling trying to figure out how you're going to stay afloat or how you're going to get the next meal, whatever it is, that's not fun. Nobody wants to be laughing and loving. And I've done a lot of research over the years over things that make relationships fall apart, money being like the first one. Even no matter what you're arguing about, you're still arguing about money. If you're arguing about somebody ate the last cookie, the money, back and forth. So I thought in Laughing, Loving, and Alive, it would be great to bring on someone who knows a lot about financial wellness. And somebody's sending me a message. They're like, yes, please fix my money. I don't know this person, but if somebody's going to fix your money, trust me, it's not me. Ladies and gentlemen, the money fixer, Miss Mary Ashby.
That is a great introduction. Thank you, Rain. We have known each other for a long time, probably because I've been in this business for almost 25 years, and we met shortly after I joined the business and started doing finances when you lived in Richmond. So it has been a while.
It has been. I started, what was it? So I started when I was 2. So yeah, it had to be 25 years though.
Exactly. Hey, I'm not afraid of my age, and I'm sure you aren't either. So
no,
she's
I'm
not afraid of your age. It's her age she lies about. She's perfectly fine with your age.
Well,
and I'm perfectly fine being ageless. So, Mary, when you say your business, what exactly is the business? Let's start there, because I mean, it's a catchy title, Your Money GPS, but there's a lot of different like approaches or perspectives that people come from when they're messing with your money, from the IRS to counterfeiters. So tell
first,
me
I'm trying not to mess with people's money. That's not my intention. But what I do is really help people, whether it be families, couples, individuals, really get a handle on what their money goals are. Because I think a lot of times people have, these broad, grandiose ideas about what they want to achieve. But then they have no pathway to get there. So, what are these goals? And then come up with a roadmap, a game plan to achieve those goals.
Okay,
And,
so Mary, I'm going to go back and ask my question again.
Okay.
I want to find out not that part of it yet. We can get there. Are you a financial planner? Are you a life insurance agent? Are you a stockbroker? Are you a banker? Like, tell me where you're coming from. Or did you just walk off the street one day and say, hey, we should talk about money, and you discovered you were good at it?
So I am a financial advisor. I have my, investment, insurance, licenses. So yeah, that's the perspective I'm coming from, is sort of full service financial planning.
So LAH 63, 65, Series 7?
663, no 7.
Okay.
And 65, yeah.
Okay.
For those of you that know all those terms. Yeah.
So do you have your own business doing this, or are you affiliated with a particular company?
Yeah, I have, my back office is a company called Primerica that's been around for like almost 50 years. And, but I'm an independent contractor. I have my own business. I have people that work with me, too, that, help all the people that we're working with. So achieve their financial, game plan.
Okay. So here are some of my, there is a lot of different approaches on like setting goals and doing things, how you're going to get people there. And you provide the plan. And now, can somebody come to you? And because there's two schools of mind, maybe there's more now, but there were for a long time two traditional schools of mind. There was the person you paid for the plan, and then you went and you implemented it yourself, and then what you paid for them was the plan. The other person is going to sell you all the stuff, so they did the plan because they make their money on the back end because they're making money off the stuff they're selling you. Which side of that do you fall on?
I fall on the second one. And the biggest reason is I think that people need a coach in their life that's going to hold their hand and help them implement their plans. Because I think that's where what I've seen, working with people is they really don't understand this. I mean, it's really simple now to go online if you have, a desire to, invest on your own or come up with a debt elimination plan or, any of that. You can just go online and do it. But most people won't do it. And they want to work with someone who has that expertise. So that's what I do. I, help come up, develop the whole plan based on their goals. And then we get that plan implemented and so that they can achieve their goals. I mean, that's always the end thing. And, the other thing is that most financial planners aren't going to look at some of the basic things that people need help with, like that getting out of debt. They're going to do the investment side of things, but they're not going to help them, get rid of that, come up with a plan to pay off their student loan debt, to pay off their, car loans, their credit cards, things like that they have. And, so sometimes we're focusing on that very basic, what might seem rudimentary, aspect first.
Okay. I find that interesting. So when you are, and I know that as you're putting this together, you're saying the coaching. You've been doing this for 24 years. But talk to me, because coaching has a very unique thing here. Mm-hmm. When people talk about coaching, they're talking usually about somebody that they're meeting with on a really regular basis that may be helping them in a way to develop better tools and skill sets and better approach. So are you doing something more than financial planners used to do? Because financial planners would say, yeah, we need to get you out of debt. Here is, so we'll do like this percentage towards saving and this percentage towards debt, and you can start to put this aside. But there really wasn't coaching about how to have a better relationship with money. Are you getting involved with coaching people about how to have a better relationship with money?
That's a good question. I don't have that specific expertise, but I will tell you that in the process, because what we do, the first number of meetings are more intense in terms of time commitments, really getting what a family's or individual or couple's goals are, figuring out then how to approach that. But in that process, a lot comes out about people's relationship with money, some of their past experiences, with, what parents have told them, or just, some of the situations that they've gotten into, or like Rain, you said, just that, money mindset, where you really didn't have any education on money. So then what we do is, we focus in on some of those things. Another thing that I think people don't do well today, and most people, is budget, because it's all electronic, and it's, sort of figuring out then when, you have a zero, or let's say maybe hopefully it's not zero, but you got $20 left in your checking account and you don't get paid for 3 or 4 days. And so it's then, okay, we can't use this card anymore. But oops, I forgot the cell phone bill comes out before payday. So that whole budgeting aspect, they're not writing down everything they're spending on paper. So that's another thing I really work with people on. And that's sort of the rudimentary, because you got to think about a house and building a house. What's the most important part of building a house?
The foundation.
Foundation, exactly. If that foundation isn't strong, the whole house is going to crumble. So foundation in a financial house is protection. Making sure that if someone dies prematurely, that, there's insurance in place. If there are people that need to be protected, like children or, other family members, then you also have health insurance you need to have, and you got to have your auto and homeowners insurance. So making sure that foundation piece is strong. Then moving to having emergency money, having $2,000 if something, just in case something breaks, you got a big, car repair, so you don't have to go to credit cards, or if you have a, house, something breaks in the house. So you got to have at least 2,000 just sitting in cash, savings, whatever. Then moving on to that debt elimination. Yes.
Mary, you would prioritize paying money out for life insurance before you had an emergency fund?
Well, you have to do, that $2,000 is important. You got to get that in place as quickly as possible. You got to sell something, you got to get that money. But if you think about it, if you do have people that need to be protected, children, and someone dies prematurely, that life insurance is critical. So that's part of that foundation.
No, well, I get that. I was just listening to I was kind of listening to the order, and
right.
It struck me personally that I would want to have I would want to know, for me, and I don't know if this is the approach you take, I look, minimum is 3 months, comfortable is 6 months. I'm dancing in the rain if I have a year of expenses covered.
Right.
So that's kind of the goal. But I wouldn't spend a penny on anything unnecessary in this moment before I had the 3 months. Because if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm more likely to lose my job tomorrow than to die tomorrow. So that's why I was kind of questioning that emergency fund order.
Right. Well, and every person, every, situation is different. And so I'm talking big picture, most people. It might not fit for you, Dr. Kevin, in terms of needing all of that protection on the bottom. But that 3 to 6 months is critical after you get that debt eliminated. And it's also a whole lot easier to do, especially for people who have debt. I've been in this business a long time. I've seen some pretty sad situations that people have gotten into, whether intentionally or sort of unintentionally, when it comes to debt, where they're, $1,000 going out to service debt and maybe more. per month. And if they can eliminate that, they can quickly get that 3 to 6 months set up and in their savings, in their emergency fund, like you were talking about. And the other thing is you can't forget about retirement while you're doing that too. And, making sure, especially now as we're looking at, we got a week to go until tax deadline, making sure that there's ways to save for retirement that might help you on your taxes too.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of different strategies out there, and certainly I don't always pay attention. In fact, I'm specifically not paying attention to comments today because Brent is on his third margarita, and if I keep looking at what he's writing, I'm going to lose my focus of talking to you. So in the 24 years of you doing this, so you basically now would be dealing with the adult children who are having children of some of your original clients. You would now technically be 3 generations out. What do you see is the biggest shift in financial stuff? And I'm sorry, I didn't finish the sentence. I'm leaving it up to Rain or Elmer to say, we have a question from the audience, and I want to make sure that any question that the audience has for you gets answered. But until then, we're gonna keep chatting. So what do you think has been the biggest change in the last 25 years around financial literacy, around financial understanding, working, things like this?
Oh, that's a really good question. The last 25 years, what I've really seen is a change in people's understanding, and that's not quite the right word, but it's that tactile feel of money. People don't have cash anymore. So it is a completely different understanding of spending money, I think. And, that's the biggest thing I have seen, just that the swiping of the card, even though it might be a debit card, we'll just leave credit cards out of the picture. But a swiping of the card is a whole lot different from actually having cash that you're handing over to pay for things. And that's not going to change. So it's how do we figure out and give people more of a feeling of that spending of money. I have one client that I can think of right now who has probably 6 or 7 different savings accounts. And that's one of the ways that they have figured out how to manage their money. So they're putting money into a vacation savings. They're putting money into they have pets. So, a pet savings. They have the emergency money, 3 to 6 months, because they've done a good job of saving, and they're young too. They're in their late 20s, early 30s. So that's the one way they figured it out. And I like that idea too of using multiple savings accounts, because savings accounts don't cost you anything. Bank's not charging you for those.
You do got to be careful that legally you're only allowed 6 transfers a month out of savings accounts.
That is exactly right. You are, that's correct, Elmer. But what happens is if you've got 6 different savings accounts, you can get 6 transfers out of each of those. So right. That's 36. But it is the earmarking. That's what was so important when you had cash, because you earmark that money for certain things. And that's what I think, and that's just one tactic. There's a lot of different ones out there. That's just one client that, I've helped in the last month that made me think that's how they've managed to handle their money in a very responsible way, but earmark it for specific spending needs.
Do you think also in the last 25 years, what's changed that people need to start thinking differently about is the going away of the pension system?
Yeah, that's another really big one. When you don't, I mean, very few governments, teachers, they have pensions, but no one else does. And that's exactly right. I mean, and most states too now are going to a mandatory retirement plan, that businesses that have certain number of employees have to have retirement plans in place. That it might be the employee contributing all the money, but at least it has to be in place now. But the other thing is, I mean, I've just found people who have that additional assistance get a whole lot further in terms of working one-on-one with a person like me. Or, there's lots of other people out there, but who have that personal contact, can ask questions when they have a money question. And I tell my clients, I might not know all the answers to all the questions because I'm not a mortgage expert, I'm not a tax expert, but I probably know the right person to refer you to and the right questions that you should be asking.
And speaking of referring people, I don't know if Rain told you, my day job is I'm an accountant. So all into the whole money thing. I don't refer a lot of people over to a wide variety of financial advisors, financial planners, because I had a bad experience. One of my clients went to Edward Jones out in Arizona, and she was coming into a large sum of money, and she wanted to look at the whole comprehensive viewpoint of wealth building and retirement, which included properties. Edward Jones refused to talk to her about them because they couldn't make money off of it. And to me, that's a huge disservice. If you're gonna work with somebody, and so I've only found very few people that do this. They are out there, but so I'm very picky and choosy. But I just wanted to get your perspective on that, of like, even though you're selling certain products and the person wants to add this piece to it, do you also talk about that, even though you're not going to make money of it, because you want to help them understand their whole perspective of where all their money is and the best place to put it? Because as a lot of us know, wealthy people got wealthy because they started in real estate, or the currently wealthy people have their money in real estate as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Elmer. I look at the whole picture. I have clients that, are only have investments in, like traditional, stock market type investments. But then I have clients that, like you said, parents who got into the rental real estate business and passed that real estate down to their kids. And so now that's a big part of their portfolio. And I'm not a real estate expert, but I look at that within the total portfolio, because that's going to play a certain role now and in the future. And we need to, make sure that everything is working together. That's critical.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Oh, I'm just, in any field, even in my own field, there's a lot of CPAs who just don't do their job once they see they get their certificate, and they don't seem to need to learn anything after that. But the same thing, yeah, there are people out there who want to work with the comprehensive, but I think people need to ask those questions when you go to look for a financial advisor, a financial planner. Will you help me look at the whole comprehensive picture? Even though you're not going to make money off that real estate, I need to know how it fits into everything else that you're helping me with as well.
Right. Exactly. Because that real estate especially can provide a major income stream down the road, for their financial well-being. And that's really important to look at.
Yeah. I mean, and that was part of it on the earlier question, is that's always been the kind of the battle question out there. Battle's really not the right word, but it's like the people that say, well, I sell you a financial plan and you will pay me to help you with the financial plan, but I am not tied to one set of investments. I'm not tied to one company that I can only sell you. I'm only going to recommend their mutual funds. I only recommend, you pay for the plan and you get a plan that doesn't have any doesn't have any
Limitations.
attachment
Mm-hmm.
to one particular. Or if you go to an Edward D. Jones, or you go to a Primerica, or you go to any of these, you go to American Express Financial Planners, they're not authorized to sell outside of their thing. And so there is there's that question. But somebody who's really good, and I'm assuming you are, Rain's been with you for a long time. She wouldn't have you on the show if she didn't find you ethical. Is that you have an understanding. I would guess that you would have an understanding that that relationship pays for itself over time, even if you're not selling all the products,
Mm-hmm.
because the
Right.
relationship pays over time.
Mm-hmm.
I
So-
have a question from, I'm sorry, Dr. Kevin. It's from
Go ahead.
someone in Guatemala for Mary. They want to know, can anyone afford to do this no matter how little they make?
I think so. And I really, I mean, there might be some people who make so little money that they can't afford to put a small percentage away every week, every paycheck, however often that is. But I think that is just such a good habit to get into. If there's one place you're going to start, that would be it. How do I save a little bit of money from every paycheck that I am socking away for those emergencies initially? And as that grows, can then, maybe make it for more for the future. But yeah, that's critical to get to that point.
I want to bring back something you mentioned earlier and go deeper into it. You talked about people's past relationships and especially around their parents and stuff. Do you think that we're not doing enough in society in teaching kids about money management?
Well, it's interesting because I'm in Virginia, and Virginia now, everybody before they can graduate from high school has to take an economics class, and they go into money management principles. What I'm seeing though is that a lot of the kids are taking those classes like in 10th grade. And I wonder if that's too early. They don't have enough real world, because a lot of 10th graders aren't even able to have a job yet. So they don't have that real world experience yet to apply it. That senior year in high school for a lot of people, or even that first, the year after that. But I'm not, people may or may not go to college. But I think that senior year in high school is the much better optimum time to teach it. And I don't know, you're in Arizona, Elmer.
Well, actually in Maine now. I was in Arizona for 10
Maine.
years.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if those states have the same rules, but I think, again, teaching that, I was lucky. I mean, my parents, there were 6 of us, and we weren't handed things on a silver platter. I grew up on a farm, and, we had to work for everything. I had a job when I was 15 because I wanted to buy stuff. But my parents, I always saw from them good money practices. So I got lucky in that regard. And,
You don't think starting earlier, even at home, wouldn't be a good thing? Like, I have a friend who was a 12-year-old who's I've known since he was 4, and he wanted to help me help him build a computer one time, and so because actually he wanted the new gaming desktop, and we were like, we weren't just going to give it to him, and a new gaming desktop can cost $2,000-3,000 or even a lot more. So what we came up with was a way for him to feel like he's making progress on the computer. But also teaching him about, saving for money and the costs, things have a cost and whatnot. I helped him build it because it was cheaper, and then he could save up a little bit of money and then buy a part. You know what I mean? So he can physically see him making progress towards, the end goal. Where as a kid, if it's not in front of you, you don't see it. You might not thinking 2 years down the road on something is not going to work with them. So do you
Right.
think starting earlier, teaching these basic money management skills and understanding the worth of and working towards not just having everything handed to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that I think is critical how you teach kids. And, there's pros and cons like on allowance systems or working, being paid to do jobs in the house versus you're a part of the family. You should just do those jobs. So there's a lot of dynamics there that families, I think, need to work out for themselves the best way to do it. But when my kids were growing up, and this is just an example, whenever they got gifts or earned money or allowance or whatever, they had to save 10% of it and they had to give 10% of it, and then they could spend the other 80. And if it were a bigger lump sum, they had to save more than that. So I think teaching that savings principle early on is really important.
One of the things that, because in my practice, will deal with uh, young people and young families and kids and stuff like this. And a few years ago, I switched over if involved in like the child when I'm involved in the child thing, if they're talking to me about helping like figure it out parenting, because unfortunately we are now second or third generation for some people that are latchkey kids of latchkey kids of latchkey kids who aren't getting a whole lot of skill sets taught to them, period. And was to basically get them a fake debit card, and when they did things that put credits in their debit card, and then they could get things by spending money out of their debit card at a very young age. And it's all an internal house system. But you do your chores, you get so many credits in your debit card, and then you can spend that debit card. So I've started to like change it from an allowance that's got money to a card allowance.
Mm-hmm.
To make that because you're right. I mean, some kids look at money and don't even know what it is anymore half the time.
Mm-hmm.
On this, I do have a question. I don't know if you, and I don't want to get lost here too much, but in this economics, are you familiar at all with the curriculum of what they're teaching? I mean, when you say they're teaching money management, are they teaching like how to balance a checkbook and giving real world examples of like what interest on cards look like and how much it costs you over time? Because when I think of economics usually doesn't get into the nitty gritty like that. And so I'm wondering if you're familiar with when they say economics, what are they actually like? What are they covering? Do you know?
Yeah, it's in Virginia. I don't know the specifics, but I know, kids that have gone through it and what they've learned. A lot of it does depend on the teacher and their experience and what they bring into the curriculum, over and above what's, designated that they have to teach. But they're definitely not teaching how to balance a checkbook. I don't think anyone does that anymore. It seems like. I think that they should be, teaching like with that debit card system you were talking about. I still think a written budget, everyone needs to learn that. And that they put everything that they spend on paper. And that's from the, $5 latte, to the, $100, electrical bill, whatever. Everything goes on paper that you're going to spend your money on. But, they are teaching examples of interest rates and how that affects both savings and spending. They are, basic economic principles of supply and demand. Think they're, basic principles on investing. They're getting that in these classes. So, the principles are there. Taxes. I mean, I think that's another thing that, when people get their first paycheck, a lot of times they're surprised that, hey, I thought I was being paid $15 an hour. How come I didn't get $15 times the 10 hours I worked? So understanding taxes and that effect on your paycheck.
I think they also need to, especially in this day and age where it seems like a lot more people are working from home, not only just for employers, but creating their own businesses. What I find, I work with a lot of small businesses. I find a lot of people who might understand all those concepts don't understand business concepts. The question I get, because I not only do the accounting work, I also do the tax work. And so I've had questions and small business owners saying, how do I have a $10,000 net profit that I'm paying taxes on when my bank account has $10 in it? It's
Right.
like, there's a different process of how that business finances work. And it's not based upon what's left in your bank account.
Right.
Yeah.
And those, I don't think that is being taught, because you think about who the teacher, most teachers have never had that experience. They don't understand it. So that definitely is not being taught, in a classroom setting. They need definitely connecting with a great accountant like you, Elmer, that can teach them those things and help them understand that is, critical as a small business owner. Because we know the amount of small businesses that go out of business just in it's a very high percentage that goes out of business in the, first year or two.
Oh, yeah. Now, what part of Virginia are you in?
I'm in the central part of Virginia, the Richmond, Virginia area.
Okay. I used to live in Williamsburg and Norfolk, and
Oh, yeah.
had an office in Richmond. So I'm familiar. So I was just curious because you come see in Virginia, and I kept going, I used to live there. If you were, what do you think is, so I have to ask you, I noticed that you said you don't have a Series 7, so you don't do stocks. So do you not recommend the stock market in your plans?
Yeah, personally, I don't sell individual stocks except through, there's one, I do have a way that I can do that through a managed account program that we work with. But so that is just the only difference. So mutual funds that are buying stocks, or mutual funds that are buying combination stocks and bonds, or bonds, all of that are what I help my personal clients with. But I'll have clients that come to me that have inherited, a lot of individual stocks that their parents owned. And again, we'll look at that as part of their entire portfolio and see how it makes sense. Sometimes that portion, it's really interesting, especially, when you look at inheritances, a lot of the stocks will be the company that their parents worked for. So they might have a pretty hefty holding in that company, which, the balance might be off a little bit. So we'll look at that and, see if it makes sense to diversify some of that at that stage. So
But you wouldn't yourself say to somebody, you should go get stocks. You only deal with them if they come in.
Right. Yes. And that's individual stocks. And most of the time too, Dr. Kevin, the reason is, mainly diversification. Buying individual stocks, if someone wants to buy an Amazon or a Microsoft or a Berkshire Hathaway.
Only 25 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Today you can buy one share, and so just because of how much, each individual share costs. So that's because it's more so diversification. And that, a lot of times for my clients makes the most sense.
And so speaking about the diversification, one of the fields that I specialize in is cryptocurrency. So have you noticed, especially in this younger age group, I deal with some teenagers who are getting into this. But you got the cryptocurrency, you got the NFTs, you've got Rally and other apps like that allow you to buy shares of the first Batman comic, or a Maserati or wine. You've got Charles Schwab now, who does splits slices, where if you can't afford Amazon, you can get a slice of it and stuff. So are you finding a lot more people are dabbling in that arena? And is that something that you could even get a handle around helping them with, or is that something that it's just too new or too outside your scope that it's hard for you to advise them?
Yeah, on those particular like cryptocurrency and things like that, I don't have the expertise to advise clients on that for sure. So right now, that's something they have to sort of figure out on their own, or find someone that can advise them on that.
I have a guest question. This young lady is 14 from Florida, and she said, would Miss Mary come back on and speak to young adults about money when their families are financially irresponsible? What should they do?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are so many resources on the internet too, where you can, teach yourself about money. And I would say, you want to start with the basics. You really want to understand what is an interest rate. I mean, I think that's a great place to start as a young person, both on, when I'm, putting money into the bank and the interest rate that I'm getting there, or if I'm investing and that would be more of a rate of return that I'm getting, or if I'm getting debt, if I'm buying a car and I don't have enough money to pay cash for it, how does that interest rate that I'm being charged for a loan affect me too? And play with some of the online calculators that show that. I think it's really cool just putting in some online savings and investing calculators that are really simple, where you can just put in, hey, what if I saved $100 a month? How could that grow for me over the next 20, 30, 40 years, if I earned 8 or 9% interest every year? Those things really open up your eyes.
And Mary, I think let's look at it from the other side, because like me, my family was always, if you asked anything about money, one, that was an adult conversation and you mind your own business. And the only way you learn about money is to go out and fail over and over and over until you figure it out. And I've run into a lot of young people who don't know how to punch those numbers. They don't know how to start, because a lot of times they work and their money goes to the family. Family's like, well, you're 12 and you have $100 in the bank. Let's use 50. So I think, I see some other questions from other young people say the same thing. How do I become financially responsible when my family is saying this isn't a thing? So I think that's another layer we can bring you back. I mean, Dr. Kevin Elmer, I'm sure Elmer, I saw you shaking your head. That's a thing. That's how I learned horribly about money, and also cultural. My parents were like, Black people are not supposed to have a lot of money. So I grew up with that. I didn't know any differently, and I'm like, that can't be true. But I didn't know anybody who had money to know if that was true.
Well, one of the things we didn't get to, and
we're coming up to the time limit, just so you know.
Yeah. One of the things we didn't get to, and I referred to it a little bit at the beginning, but I really want to get back into it, is also the energy of money and your relationship with money. And I mean, there is so much more. I mean, there's so much. By the time, Mary, you're sitting down with somebody with a budget, there's so many emotional, mental wounds, even spiritual wounds around money, that they will sabotage the best plan in the world if they don't get their handle on it. But I'm going to tell this 14-year-old what I did. I'm not going to tell her to do it because she's 14 years old. But what I did when I was 14, and I found that when I brought money home, that somehow my parents found a use for it is I started hiding money. I literally had a collection of Nancy Drew books full of $20 bills, hundreds of dollars that I just never told my parents I made, because I knew everything I made, that part of it would go to something that they would want to spend the money on, and that they would have a justification. So I'm not going to tell a 14-year-old to lie to their parents. I'm not going to tell them to hide things. I'm saying when I was 14, I had a lot of very fat Nancy Drew books by the time I was 17.
So Rain, on the 24th, we have Scott Hill, you said?
Scott Hill Theater, West Virginia. We can make it some leaps and bounds there. If it's okay, can we bring Mary back at some point? Let's pick up the energy and the money, because I think we've got a lot of comments coming in, and I think people really want some wellness.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about and learn about money still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to have a diversity and get more into the energetics, the spirituality, all of that stuff of money. Mary, you're welcome to come back and join us. I do want to say, for all of my questions and my third degrees, I am a huge fan of financial planners. When you get a good one in your life, it is an asset. They should work well with your accountant and with your lawyer. And but just like any field, you get good ones and you get ones that will put you wherever they make the most money, not where you're going to make the most money or the plan. But that's true of any field. You have bad accountants, you have bad actors, and you have bad financial planners. But when you find a good financial planner, not only can they help you with that plan, but they tend to stay up to date on things that are going to affect you, like your accountant does. And I find that a good balance is a financial planner and an accountant that work together are going to keep you ahead of the curve. And I just want to put that out there, because I was asking you a lot of tough questions, and I appreciate the fact that you went with that flow. But I don't want people out there to think that I'm anti-financial planner. I think that they're actually a great resource to have.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on today. This was fun. I wasn't sure what to expect.
Me neither.
Thanks. And we're over time, so I'm going to play us out. You can hang on with us, though.
Thanks for watching or listening to the Laughing, Loving, and Alive show. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or support us with Buy Me a Coffee. To catch all of the latest from Laughing, Loving, and Alive, you can follow us on Instagram at Laughing, Loving, and Alive, and on Facebook at Laughing, Loving, and Alive. Thanks again, and see you next time.